look.
So let's talk about the Western Conference here. How are the Nuggets doing?
You want to talk about the Nuggets are in first, aren't they? Nuggets are in first, man. Like, fucking Nuggets lost. They lose, was that last night? They lost to some bummy ass team last night. I think it was last night. Remember the other
Rockets?
Remember last week we were talking Michael Porter Jr. We were talking about the Nuggets last week, and I could not bring up this guy's name for the life of me. And I was like, it's some dude from the Nuggets, and I could not think of what his name was. Michael Porter Jr. But that's neither here nor there. Nuggets are good, man. The Western Conference is wide open, and a team that takes that next step, which the Nuggets are very capable of, because obviously they've got two-time defending MVP Nikola Jokic, right? And they've got, like I said, Michael Porter Jr. They've got, I knew I was talking about it.
Never going to forget that name again.
Right, and they've got Jamal Murray. So, like, if Murray can stay healthy, which he couldn't stay healthy last year, he's done a much better job this year. I think that they have as good of an opportunity in the West as anybody to come out of it. I don't know what they're going to be like when things get into deep waters. Like, I'm not sure what their playoff acumen or pressure IQ looks like, because I think that does matter. I think a lot of people don't give that the credit that it really deserves. The, like, having been there before and overcome ridiculous odds, or have been in conference finals or finals where you were up by a game or two games and losing, and what those experiences put on you compared to what they benefit you if you never had it. Because I think if you've never been there, while you're still a bit of a virgin in that case, you don't have the scars of failed triumphs in years past. You don't have those life experiences to know how to navigate those type of waters. So Denver doesn't have that. Dude, Denver's been to the playoffs, but they find a way to find themselves out of the playoffs. And even though they got an MVP going on maybe 3 years this year, if he beats fucking Embiid, they're first. There's that. That's nice. Home court throughout the playoffs is nice, but do something with it. You're going to have to do something with it.
You got the opportunity.
But they've had it now a couple of years, right? And stay healthy. You still have 14, 15 more games in the season, 14 more games probably for Denver. And like I said, they just choked a game away last night, like a bullshit game. They never should have choked away against like some non-playoff Eastern team. I want to say it's like Orlando. I could be wrong, but it was not impressive. It was not something when I looked at the box score before I was going to bed where I was like, son of a bitch, look at that. It was like, that's reality for you. How's that for reality? Like, you're number one in the West, losing to some like non-playoff team. So yeah, Denver needs to.
Do you think possibly the Kings could take the number one spot from the Nuggets?
Kings aren't going to take the number one, so I'm actually pretty surprised the Kings are in number two.
Yeah,
the Kings are amazing. Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox and Harrison Barnes, and I mean, like, they look a lot better than I think anybody expected they could. Like, a lot, like we talked about this once already. Like, I don't have, again, I don't have a lot of faith in the long run in the playoffs because the lack of experience. I wonder how much, once you butt up against a team that has it, how they might be able to drag you into deep waters you're not used to playing. Because series against veteran teams that have been there before, those teams know that there's like a different kind of playoff basketball that you can like get away with, where games get a little more physical, they get a little more snug, they get a little more, there's a little more rawness to them rather than the outright shooting affair that you see in the regular season. And I think if you've never been there before and don't understand the psychology of it, you might not. And I'm going to have to, I guess, use this because I've used this now twice to defend a position on Denver now and Sacramento. I'm going to have to use this if we talk about the Clippers in my own defense, which shows my own bias. But that's neither here nor there. I hate the Clippers, but I'm going to have to use this because I can't be a liar. So anyways, yeah, Sacramento, they're good. I don't think anybody thought they were going to be this good. I don't think the experience is going to fucking amount to them getting past They might make it through the first round, losing the second. They're not going to the conference finals.
They're not going to
They just don't have. They don't have the. Maybe next year, if they can keep this up, if they're the team that takes the step. Let's say De'Aaron Fox goes from a guy who was potentially the one that was on his way out of Sacramento to not just a star this year, like an all-star caliber star, but a superstar next year. Because he's only like 23 years old. De'Aaron Fox is still fucking young. Let's say he takes that giant leap. Then maybe Sabonis. Still, there's not a lot of depth there. They got a long way to go. Sacramento has a long way to go. Second is impressive. I don't think pegged them out to make the playoffs this year. So second, that's impressive.
That's quite impressive.
I like Sacramento. I like the way they play. They play good team basketball. They're smart. They utilize what they've got as strengths, and they're benefiting from it. They're listening to their coach clearly, and they're all playing with their head in the game, because it's the continuity that would bring a team that was a non-playoff team for the longest drought in the history of the NBA, and that's continuing on as of right now. I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs now, but they're going to break that streak of that playoff drought. It's not because they were good from last year. It's because these guys have really clearly bought into a system and play well together, and are right. They're clearly accentuating the positives in Sacramento.
I don't remember. You might know this. How long did they say Jaw was going to be out for? Because he left, right, for a bit.
4 more games, I think. 3 more games. This is Saturday, so 4 more games.
How do you think that's going to hurt the Grizzlies' standings, huh?
I mean, you put a lot on Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. to come out and be the guys who can hold everything down.
It's 4 games, so 4 games, right? Four
it's a
more
lot.
games,
it's
right?
a lot when you're making a push for, the top of the conference in a year when the conference isn't that deep, and you were the team that probably could have. I don't know if you really have the size you want, like the skill and the size, but you definitely have the playmakers and the defense, because Jaren Jackson Jr. is one of the best defensive players in the league. And Bane is a big boy who's strong on the ball and can drain that thing. And I mean, Bane's a beast, man. Bane is one of my favorite basketball players. Super underrated because Jaw fucking flies through the air. Bane does a lot more in the nitty gritty areas of the court where you're really impressed with the basketball. Where you're like, if you can keep that up for a career, don't get spoiled by the money or the
Just
fame.
he's like more like a muscle, you're kind of saying?
He's just he's aggressive.
Yeah.
He's an aggressive, like Isaiah Thomas was an aggressive basketball player. He's a very aggressive basketball player. Like, he just is looking, whereas Jaw, it's almost effortless. You know what I mean? When you watch Jaw, it looks kind of effortless, even though his peers are of equal talent to him. He's got these innate physical characteristics, especially the jumping ability, to make it look somewhat effortless sometimes, whereas Bane looks like a guy working people. And that's kind of a nice quality to see in someone who you can like really see, like they want that son of a bitch bad. Like, I don't know if they're playing for like the big boy contract or if they're playing for the W, but if they're playing for the W, that's the guy you want on your team for real. Because you don't know if the big boy contract the first time you get it. But as of right now, Bane's one of my favorite players in the league. That draft class, that Bane, Halliburton, Ball, Edwards draft class is crazy good.
Strong.
Crazy good. Okoro's starting to play well in Cleveland. Wiseman looks like he's found a spot in Detroit. That draft is not half bad.
How are the Suns doing in their standings? Do you think they can progress further up the leaderboard?
No, because now with Durant out, I think that there's a space here. Doing these rookies from entire seasons becomes quite cumbersome. So no, I don't think fucking with Durant out that they have any opportunity whatsoever. I think that's a pipe dream, absolutely, for Phoenix to move from where they are, because they're not going to want to put more hours on the wheels of Ayton and Paul and Booker going into the playoffs, because God forbid they get there and one of those guys get hurt, because they've been hurt all year too, or Durant isn't back yet, even though they projected Durant to be back. So, I mean, you can encounter one of two of those issues. You're not going to want to put any more hours, because the fact of the matter is if Phoenix goes into the playoffs in 3rd or 4th or 5th, but they're healthy, there's probably nobody in the West that's better than them still. So who gives a shit if you end up in the conference finals and Denver has home court advantage in the first 2 games? Like split it 1-1, bring it back home, go up 3-1, just beat them. Like, I mean, that's if you can stay healthy with KD and Booker and Ayton and Paul, you're going to do just fine. If you're not healthy, it's not going to matter because you're just going to be an also-ran in that conference because you need all those guys. Paul's maybe the guy you could lose, which, I mean, that's not, like I was saying, Paul is still very useful, super useful, but at 38 years old, 39 maybe, Chris Paul's old, second oldest guy in the league.
Yeah.
But Chris Paul's, he's a gangster, bro. Not that John Morant type gangster either. Like the real
IG
basketball gangster.
That's a good title to have.
So Chris Paul is elite, and if he's healthy, if they're all healthy, Phoenix could walk out of that conference. If they go into the first round, game 1, and everyone's good enough to go, when they're not hobbled, guys aren't missing games, and they can remain that way, I don't see anybody in the West beating them regardless. Finish 3rd, 6th, whatever, wherever they finish, second, first. I don't think they're going to get a lot of wins here. Like I said, going into the end, because Durant's out, and I think they're going to still rest Booker because they know that if we're all healthy going into playoffs, we could compete with anybody. So
you don't think the Clippers have a chance for beating the Suns now to move up to the leaderboard?
I think they could beat them. No, I think they, because obviously Durant. So I think
okay. So I think
the Clip, and that this is where again I need to come to Jesus and have that thing where I said I wasn't going to be biased earlier when we were talking about Denver and we were talking about Sacramento. In that when I was saying Sacramento and Denver don't have the playoff experience, I hate the Clippers, and I was looking at this earlier today and thinking out like, I would never think the Clippers could do good in the NBA playoffs. Like they're always hurt. There's always something.
Yeah.
They don't have the depth. They got Westbrook now. It's all this bullshit. And then I think but you need the playoff experience. And who has more playoff experience than 2-time MVP on 2 different teams? Kawhi Leonard. So if you actually need the playoff experience, if the Clippers are healthy, maybe the Clippers are a lot more dangerous than I was giving them credit for going into this conversation right now, actually. Because I never would have came to this Jesus moment had I not run down my thoughts on Denver and Sacramento's lack of playoff skills, and then to reflect on the fact that, Kawhi, if he's healthy, if he's rolling and he's healthy, who has more playoff fucking acumen than Kawhi Leonard? I mean, it's LeBron, it's Steph, it's other guys with lots of championships, but Kawhi, for a one-man show, has done tons, and he's got Paul George, if the Clippers are healthy, the Clippers are a viable option, so why not the Clippers? So I think in this conversation, I've completely flip-flopped on the Clippers, and I feel like now my crosstown rival, because I'm a Laker fan, my crosstown rival, the Los Angeles Clippers, if they're healthy, they might be able to make a run in the West. They might be able to. Kawhi's ridiculous.
They've got a chance.
But they've been so up and down. I'm not going to bet my money on it, but if they're there,
you think it's their time to seize the moment?
I think their fans have definitely thought that for a while. I think their fans have sat in some sort of fan purgatory for a period of time where they've been expecting this Clippers team, not just this time, but last time. Who was on the Clippers that played with Blake Griffin? Was it Chris Paul? I think it was Chris Paul, right? It's like there's been so many times Clippers fans have been waiting for the other shoe to drop with a team that looks like it's superstars, and it never seems to pan out. But if we were going to discount Denver and Sacramento's, or I was going to discount Denver and Sacramento's, a lack of playoff experience in winning towards their probable ability to not make it to the finals, then I have to give it to the Clippers, because while they don't as a team have it, it's not like Kawhi Leonard is lacking in it. He definitely has it. So if Kawhi is rolling on all cylinders, I'd be silly to not assume Kawhi has a potential to maybe drag the Clippers to a conference finals and then maybe upset a team in a fashion that we weren't expecting, or a team that doesn't have the same experience that Kawhi does. So Clippers could maybe do anything. I'm not really keen on it. I'm not really keen on it. Don't mark me down as like fanboy of Clippers. Like, I don't want that title bestowed on me. Like, I don't like the Clippers. I'm a Lakers fan. The Clippers can absolutely just bite a dick. But in reality, if I'm being honest with you, healthy, Kawhi could do probably anything.
All right, so what's your take on the Mavericks? The card was sweet. I love the Florida Maverick.
Right, Maverick the movie too. The Mel Gibson, the card movie with
good.
What's her name? Helen Hunt.
It was Helen
Hunt.
And what's another dude's name?
Excellent movie. Yeah. Maverick with Mel Gibson is an excellent movie.
He's that old guy. He's from the Rockford Files.
Right, James Garner.
James Garner. Yes, that's right.
That is a fantastic movie. I'm a big proponent, a connoisseur of Maverick, of Mel Gibson movies, period. Mel Gibson was...
You're quite the Maverick yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. You're quite the stallion.
Ooh.
Right. I didn't want to be too forward, but I figured now I might as well shoot my shot here live on the internet. Right. If it doesn't work, I'll just blow your head off.
Oh, damn. Live on the internet.
Right. Live on the internet. Right. Carol Capizov, Ricky Card, parallel.
Look at that.
So,
News.
So yeah, I would have thought the Mavericks, the Mel Gibson Mavericks, would have been better since bringing in. Well, I mean, they lost Brunson right last year. Brunson's banged up now in New York, but I thought giving up what they gave up for Kyrie Irving, with Luka having a season that was, trending towards being. I mean, at one point in time during the season, he was in the conversations for the MVP, back when Tatum was maybe the leading rumor getter back in the early part of the season for MVP voting. Then Luka was kind of in the second tier place, and then Luka kind of moved in because Embiid didn't really start the season too much for Philly. Then obviously Jokic, you start looking at his stats accumulated over the season. He doesn't do anything that's so phenomenal, but he finds a way to get to where he's number one in almost all these categories. So Luka was having a season where it looked like you had Kyrie Irving, who, when his head's in the game, is one of the best basketball players on the planet. It looked like that dynamic duo could have been, and now, is he even going to re-sign there? They're not any good. They got no chemistry. Like, they don't know I don't know if Jason Kidd maybe doesn't know what he's doing as the coach.
Do you think it might just be a coach thing, or do you think it's a chemistry between the team? I wonder.
It's difficult to say. It's such a small body of work.
I'm not in the locker room.
No, and there's such a small body of work. There just isn't a whole lot to take a look at where you can say, like, well, over the course of 80, but we don't have 80 games because Kyrie's contract's going to be up at the end of the season, and they're going to have to decide whether they give this guy a max deal or not. There's not some option which Kyrie's going to entertain beyond max deal.
I would like a max deal. How do I get
so
one?
Would I? Right. I would like a
NBA.
Right.
Max deal.
I'll take a min deal. Fuck a max deal.
Right.
I'll take the absolute.
You use me as a pincushion too.
You run the train, baby.
Right. You need your coffee, your bed mate, your breakfast, whatever.
Jack you off.
$250,000 a year. I'll do that.
Whatever you need.
Whatever you need.
Hand jobs all around, my man.
Day and night, even when you sleep. I have no idea. I do like these Dazzler cards. You go check out Big Beaver Comics. We can find action figures, sports cards, and comic books. Ooh. And some CGC slabs over there too.
Those are excellent plug. I like how you go into plug mode.
Oh, thank you very much.
BigBeaverComics.com. Instagram, BB card sales on Instagram, all sorts of good stuff. You hear the YouTube there. Subscribe to this son of a bitch.
See you on both platforms.
Punch you right in the dick if you don't.
Yeah, I'll punch myself in the dick.
Right, I'll punch you. Yeah, if you subscribe, I'll come back live.
I will.
Punch myself in the dick for you.
If we got 100 likes on this video, I'll punch myself in the dick on the
That's
story.
Commitment, right.
60 seconds.
Right, 60 seconds of dick punching.
I'll do it.
And then the next week I'll come back and do 60 seconds of dick touching.
That's the internet challenge. Right now, we get 100 likes on this video, I'll punch myself in the dick in 60 seconds. So
Dallas is Dallas a wash. Dallas looks like the continuity's all messed up now. I don't see Dallas being able to find a way out of this with the amount of money they're going to have to commit to Kyrie and the fact that the sentiment's not good. They're going to make the playoffs. I imagine the Mavericks are still going to find a way. They're going to back into the playoffs because they're definitely not going to be on a winning streak going in there or anything. but they're going to find a way. And they might find a little bit of continuity when the playoffs start. Maybe they can up it a gear. Obviously, Kyrie's won a championship with LeBron. Luka doesn't have that, but Luka went to the conference finals last year, like I said, with Brunson. Luka's a beast, but when you got two guys trying to, like, two left feet, it's not really...
Yeah, it's a two left feet thing.
And they're trying. They're not trying. You can see it some games. One of them has way more points than the other, and the other guy's assists are way up, and they're trying to find like a vibe, but there's just sometimes it doesn't work.
They can't come to a good fusion.
Sometimes it doesn't work. They're just they're banging tips together. Like, it's just not.
I hate when that happens.
Right. It's just not the romance.
It goes nowhere.
Not
it goes
building.
Nowhere.
It goes nowhere.
It's just a bunch of chafing,
you
bruising.
just end up sitting there jagging it. Right. It's
not fun.
So yeah, Dallas. Shit, man. They might be sitting in that spot or fighting to even stay not in the play-in. They might end up in the play-in. Who knows? Because what? Like 6, 7, 8, 9 7, 8, 9, 10 make the play-in. And like you can be out of the playoffs as quick as you look like you were in them.
Do you think the Warriors have a fighting chance?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I see a lot of guys. I see Nick Wright and a lot of these guys that do actual like sports talk. I don't know, you wouldn't call it radio anymore, sports talk television, sports talk YouTube. And they talk about how the Warriors don't have a chance. The Warriors are defending champions. They got a bunch of guys on that team that have won 4 titles and multiple young guys that I know haven't had like the greatest. I mean, Poole's had a fine season. He's had some games where he doesn't look as polished as the contract justifies, but Poole's still really good. Obviously, Curry, Thompson, Green, Iguodala have won championship after championship after championship with Golden State. So they won one last year. Kuminga, they got Mood, they've got Andrew Wiggins. When Wiggins comes back here in like another week, Golden State, for as bad as they've played, for the fact that their road record is probably the worst road record in the history of professional basketball.
Ouch!
It's brutal.
That
dude.
is brutal.
Nobody can even figure out what's going on. Like,
they should get a plaque that says that.
Well, what they could do is they could really erase that from everybody's memory by going on just an absolute tear in the playoffs, and they've got the skill and the experience to do it. So I would say everybody that's writing off, and I could be totally wrong, but I don't think I am. I'm going to stick with the team that has the most production in the last decade, when it still has those core players there, some of whom are still, like Steph Curry, other than a little bit of injuries this year, still in his prime, like without any kind of, Dylan Kuglin and a Dylan Cousins.
Ooh.
Right? Well, good way to screw a guy up. I'm like, what am I looking for? That's why I thought that I had one down here already.
Oh yeah, he's still in his 30s, right? Young.
Steph's early 30, 32 right? Maybe. Something like that, 33. Steph still got a few years.
Oh, absolutely.
Steph's a beast. And Draymond was never a point machine. Like, Draymond's always been a defensive guy. Stats are still kind of where they've always been. Draymond slowed down a little bit. Dre's contract up at the end of the year. Punch Poole, obviously, earlier this year. Draymond wants what sounds like max deal, which he's not going to get. So he might not be back after this season.
Ooh,
but, ouch. I mean, you're going to be playing to prove that you are deserving of that contract. When better to play like that than in the playoffs when you guys...
Do you think punching him hurt at that contract at all?
It's not going to hurt him sucker punching. Well, he didn't sucker punch him. Poole was clearly running his mouth. It's like, don't run your mouth if you don't want to get hit in the mouth. Like, because you don't know how the other person's going to respond.
The more you fuck around, the more you find out, right?
There's a big spectrum there where I would say that that's a real probable sort of a situation where if you shouldn't bite off more than you can chew, because you have to realize that the response of that other party isn't your control. So if they decide to turn around, Ja Morant, you don't realize that brandishing weapons might raise the ire of someone with nothing to lose's ego, who then decides to meet you in equal kind with that violence, but then only to find out you're not really about that life. And then you'll lose your life on some posturing nonsense, because there's people with nothing to lose who can earn big reputation off making you a lesson. And that's not...
Yeah, you don't want to be made an example of.
You don't want to be made an example of.
No.
So, and I think everybody betting against the Golden State Warriors could very easily be made an example of. because Steph and Clay looked like at the beginning of the year, end of last, Clay looked like it was over. The shooting looked like it was done. It was a wrap. Clay had lost all that shooting prowess he had. The fact that he could just, one of the Splash Brothers, he could shoot the lights out. And now in the second half of this season, you can see Clay can still go just as hard. He might not be as fast, but Clay was never the fastest guy. But Clay can go just as hard when he's got the ball in his hands. You give him just a little bit of space, Clay puts that fucking thing in. So Draymond he's not going to get a max deal from Golden State no matter what happens, even if they go on a run. But everybody that thinks they won't go on a run. So Golden State, yeah, I like them. I think they're underrated. I think they're mad underrated because 4 championships. They already got 4. They're the defending champion right fucking now.
I have 0 championships.
Right now they're the defending champ. You're my champion.
Oh, thank you.
Heavyweight.
You're gonna make me blush over here.
Heavyweight champ.
Hey. So we're gonna talk about the number 7 spot.
And that weight's all in your dick. When I say heavyweight, I mean
boom.
That's all girthy dick weight.
Of course, ladies.
That's not that bullshit. That's not all that bullshit weight, right? It's not.
No, this is no synthol.
This is right. This isn't all just calves. That's meaty cock weight.
That's right. How do you think the Timberwolves are gonna shape up? Since they're in the 7th.
Another loss last night, like Denver's bullshit loss, was the Timberwolves taking an L in a game that they
look intentional.
No, they didn't look like they threw the game.
Oh,
no,
okay.
This didn't look like this was some betting ruse.
Oh, that's
where they were trying to topple Vegas or anything. So no, I don't want to start that rumor because that seems like that would be
taken out by the mob.
That would be poor of me to do, to slander them that publicly. They were trying to take it down from the inside.
So are they in the doghouse, or do you think they have a
They
chance?
look really good recently.
Yeah.
I like the chemistry between Anthony Edwards and Rudy Gobert. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, in the long run, might still think they overpaid for Gobert. I would imagine Karl Anthony Towns is probably going to be the odd man out in the offseason. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I think if they end up in the play-in, they're probably going to win their play-in game because I think Anthony Edwards is going to probably will it to happen. I'm not sure they're going to get out of the first round at all. I would imagine this is going to be the same situation with Edwards with what it was with Gobert, with Mitchell in Utah, with Gobert here in Minnesota. But I think Edwards is probably going to will his way into a first-round playoff matchup where you're going to see him play 6 or 7 games on national TV in the evenings. And people are going to realize that just because he's in Minnesota, there's like a superstar in Minnesota. Because Anthony Edwards, Ant-Man's a B. I hesitate to call him Ant because you're Ant to me. I was thinking this the other day when I was thinking about some of this stuff, and I was like, I hesitate to call Anthony Edwards, even though everybody else calls him Ant-Man.
We call him Ant-Man.
Yeah, or Ant. Like you're Ant.
I know a lot of people.
He's
call him
Anthony Edwards. I'm gonna give him his full name.
Right. He's like a Nick Cage. I gotta say.
Right. He's gonna get his full name. But I like Minnesota. I don't think they get in the first round, but I definitely think they get in the playoffs. And I think they've showed everybody in the second half of the season that Gobert deal was not near as bad as that people thought it was gonna be. Because like they were well out of the playoffs up till a month ago, and now they've been progressively becoming more middle of the pack Western Conference, which again has no real definable top end hierarchy.
Okay, well I'm going to bring up a little bit of a tough topic. I don't know if it might not
water left.
It's your Lakers are in the 9th position right now. How do you think they're going to fare this?
Health permitting, the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's again going to be the real domino. Is if Anthony Davis, because LeBron's out right now again. LeBron's old. We get it. When he's in, he goes hard. Anthony Davis still gets paid a lot, and he's 30. He's out. He's out all the time. He's been out 2-3 times this year. Every time he gets hot, he's out. He was in the MVP conversation for a cup of coffee.
Do you think he has the ips?
No. I think he's got that being over 7 feet. You just are. He's covering so much square footage, and there's just so much it could break that things do break. And Edwards seems to be somewhat of an emotional guy, a little bit, in the sense that he does kind of go on these tears, these up and downs, where the consistency's not so like competitive edgy. It's more like the mood he's in is how hard he plays. Whereas a guy like LeBron is like, when he's out there, it's very competitive.
It's just business.
It's fucking business, bro. Like it's legacy and it's reputation and it's all that. Whereas Edwards seems a little bit more emotional, motivated through like, if he's a little saddy pants, he kind of pouting is in like the body language and stuff, right? So, or Davis rather, I said Edwards. If Anthony Davis can stay healthy and the Lakers can make a push with the guys they've picked up at the trade deadline, which were a lot of nice moves. They did a lot of stuff. They lost those picks, obviously, but I think they brought in more than people were talking about. The actual conversation was like Buddy Hield and stuff out of Indiana. I think the Lakers, again, could get in the playoffs, and if Anthony Davis and LeBron James are both healthy, the experiences. LeBron's been to 10 finals. He's won 4 of them. He won one with Anthony Davis in the bubble 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Why couldn't he win one now? They could easily, but again, if they're not healthy, it's a fucking wrap. They're not, there's no question. It's like Phoenix with Durant. If Durant's not in there, Phoenix is not going anywhere. All of a sudden, there starts to be a definable hierarchy in the West. If Memphis doesn't have Ja, it starts to be a real definable hierarchy in the West. Where all of a sudden, Denver starts looking like that team. Where all of a sudden, you look at Dallas or the Clippers, which sucks to say, and think like, how can people not look at Golden State if Golden State's healthy? But if you've got LeBron in there, and if you've got Ja in there, and if everybody's got their guys, if KD's in Phoenix, the West is wide open, buddy. It is a shooting gallery. Like, I wouldn't bet anything on who comes out of the West. I just, like I said, lean sort of into that experience thing, because experience and some good chemistry between guys might be what put teams over the top coming out of there. If I was rubbing a crystal ball, trying to give you the best premonitions of the future, considering there's no like real X factor guy, because I think Jokic is as much of an X factor as Ja is. He's as much of an X factor as the pairing of KD and Devin Booker, is as much of an X factor as the pairing of Kyrie and Doncic, is as much of an X factor as the fact that you've got Steph Curry, is as much of an X factor as LeBron James. So that's a pretty wide swath in the West.
Okay,
so it's tough to pick.
So do you think the Pelicans have
They're fucked because that's the injury.
They're not going
to make the playoffs. No, because the Zion thing. No Zion. Okay. Zion's not going to be back. Ingram and McCullough can't hold it down there by themselves. Like, they do a good job. Ingram again has injury, but McCullough has injury issues. Fuck everybody there.
Why is everybody getting hurt?
Basketball's a rough sport on people's ankles and knees, and you're just a lot of big arms swinging around and get people getting slapped, and you don't realize
fake ankles.
Guys fall on other guys' feet and roll ankles.
People should just get their feet cut off and just get those big springs.
Springs, right? The Oscar Pistorius, like those bent skis that guys run on in those special Olympics.
You have a longer career.
Right, everybody bounce and dunk. So I don't think they have a chance. I think the Pelicans are not going to be a viable option for the West to think anybody that's worried about the Pelicans.
So I should not bet on the Pelicans.
Bet on the Pelicans. Don't. Bet. Zion, with no Zion, no chance. Okay. You can write that down.
No to bookie.
No Zion, no chance. That would be the preeminent overarching theory I would go with when it comes to
the
Pelicans. Yeah.
Okay, well that covers
that covers the West.
That covers the West.
I
like the top 10.
West Side. West Side.
Go Raiders.
Go Raiders.
So yeah, that covers the top 10 anyways in the Western Conference.